sitting here just kind of going over my notes, I went, whoop, whoop, whoop. So we were both going to kind of talk a little bit about convention. And I mean, Christy just dropped for you. I've never had this happen to me, by the way, but she just dropped pretty much everything that I wanted to say. And that's okay, because in this business, you have to pivot and to be adaptable. So I'm gonna do that right now. I'm just scratching the notes and I'm gonna rip this from my heart today. But I was thinking about people who I know personally who have showed up to convention when every obstacle was in their way. And, I come from a former company that was very manipulative, and very forceful, and it would kind of shame people for not showing up. And so I was in that for probably 11 years. So I have to be very careful with my language. You have to forgive my programming, but I want to convey to you that my belief is conventions and events are the lifeline of this business. I believe that people who come into this business and are excited and have big goals, we almost have about 8 months before they may quit. Average statistic with the average person, we don't get them into the environment, if we don't get them to sit around the campfire. And if you're taking notes, I just want you to draw 3 pillars on the piece of paper. And you may have heard this before, but don't just question it start with yourself. And then when you have teammates and you're trying to figure out what is it that's blocking them, go look at these 3 pillars and give yourself some direction for how to coach. My background is I'm a collegiate basketball player, and I coached collegiate basketball. And now I have a 13-year-old daughter, and she has very big goals. And I have to be so careful based on my past, not to drive her with where I want her to go, but to facilitate and meet her at her energy and at her desire. And I will move mountains for her. It is why I do this business, so I can afford every basketball tournament, every time she needs new shoes, every special trainer that she wants to work with. I do this business so I can be in the hotel room working the business and then get up to the tournament and be present. I mean, that's just the coach in me. I will move heaven and hell to get her where she wants to go if she's leading the charge. And I feel that way in my business with women who are showing up. And I'm just telling you from someone who's been in the industry for almost 20 years. As a leader, sometimes we are so overwhelmed with where to go and where to put our energy and who to lock in with. And just like behind the scenes, pulling the curtains back of the subconscious, am I going to work with the people moving heaven and earth to show up for themselves, or those who are sitting back? And my biggest problem is I want to pull people sometimes. So if I come with a heavy hand, it's because of these stories that I've seen with people who showed up for themselves. I have had a man on my team sell a motorcycle to get to his first event. I have had a single mom do garage sale to get to her first event. I have had women scour their homes and go spend a month selling on Marketplace to get their first event. I shared my story in Team 1% yesterday. It was 19 minutes, but it was how I started in a trailer park and how I didn't have that growth mindset. I didn't have those thoughts of having an elevated life. I was very settled, and how I grew up very happy. But when I got around other people, I realized I had the talent, skills, passion, and grit to take it further if I just put myself around the campfire with these types of people. It was like an elevation. And those happened at events. And so I just want to be, crystal clear that my entire career, I've seen people overcome obstacles to get there. And where there's a will, there's a way. I have teams who were so poor that the leaders initiated that they would be fasting at the event. I remember offering to pay for some lunches because I knew this team was just getting started and they were coming from a very poor area. I knew they didn't have money. And I offered to pick up a lunch tab. And the leader said, no, we're all fasting as a team. And he did that. They set that as a culture because they knew how many people they had struggling financially that had moved heaven and earth to be there together. And they were making a team thing of it. We're going to fast together and be mentally clear for this convention. But that's what they were doing to help support them. I remember those people having 8 people in a room to split the cost. I've seen people load up vans and drive 30 hours to an event. And I'm telling you right now, if there's obstacles in your way and you want to go, I want you to know that whatever obstacle you move to get yourself there will be your story, your testimony, and your proof for the next decade or however long you're with a company. If you don't move heaven and earth, have that story to someday share. I was a Dave Ramsey girl. I didn't have the money. I had been taught my whole life we don't do credit cards. I took out a credit card to get to my first event. That's my story. No one can ever take it away from me. And when someone gives me their objection, I practice empathy in my heart, but that is your objection because I've seen objections crushed left and right where there's a spirit of tenacity and a will to win. And so, do you want to have a story? Do you want to speak from the heart? What did you do to make it happen? And then I hear people say all the time, well, I don't have very many people going. I don't have very many people going, or I don't have anyone going with me. Your business will stay at that level as long as your mindset does. You don't have people going with you because you're the one who needs to go and elevate your belief in yourself, in the company, in the product, in the industry. You're exactly where you're supposed to be right now. And you got to ask yourself honestly, do I like it? Do I like it? And maybe you've been to an event before and nothing shifted. But I'm telling you, there were huge shifts in my career on event 8, event 9. A company I was with for 10 years, we ran the same programming at the event, the same speakers, the same. Oh my gosh, I would start dreading it. I get anxiety about going in. It's the same. We're in the room 15 hours a day. It was like boot camp. It was like they were trying to break you down, and it was emotionally draining. And I kept going back year after year after year. And I still remember things that shifted my business after the 10th or 12th event I saw that was the exact same. You will get out of it what you need to get out of it. And it might be a hallway conversation that clicks for you. I remember my first event at Ramon. I remember coming from trauma. I would call that trauma with events. Just that manipulative, brainwashing, drink the Kool-Aid type feeling that I was carrying in my body. And I will never forget Sunday morning watching Jermaine and his wife on stage. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks. This is different. This feels like me. I feel aligned here. This feels professional. This feels classy. This feels like where I always wanted it to be. And I was like, I'm going to build here. Like it was, he didn't even know, like that wasn't even the event. That wasn't even the conference. They were just welcoming us on Sunday morning. And there was a moment in that. And it was the moment I needed. The very last event we were at, I had gotten stale in my business. I had started working so hard in the business with management. I'd slid out of recruiting mode. I'd slid out of that, I call it D1 activity. It's like you need to stay in what the newest new person is doing. You gotta keep building. You gotta keep going. You gotta keep adding. And I had gotten just mediocre and was so busy in my business, but not working on my business. And it was nothing that was said on stage, but it was my competitive spirit where I got pissed. Just got mad at myself. And sometimes we go to get mad. Sometimes we go to get fired up. Sometimes we go to get a fire lit under us. And that's what happened for me. It was like, I just remember it was the feeling that it invoked in me that I was playing too small. And I went back to my hotel room on that Sunday and I closed the door for 2 hours. And I brought 4 women in on the highest builder pack in 2 hours in my hotel room on the phone. I hadn't recruited anyone like that in probably 6 or 7 months. What shifted? My energy. I picked up the energy in the room. I picked up the desire again. So I don't care how long you've been in the industry. I don't care how many events you've been to. You'll always go get something new that you need. And if you don't love where you're at, you got to go get poured into. You got to go find something new. Quit insanity, running the same programming over and over again and expecting a new result. So I'm just, if you want, I don't care what the elevation is on me. Like, yeah, I've had some success, but if I am telling you the secrets to this business, it is you've got to stay around the campfire. How many of you have had friends like go take a trip together and then you feel completely cold and like you're not in that friend group anymore? Like, sorry if I pulled any middle school trauma up, but you know what I mean? You didn't get invited to the party and then you just feel like you're an outcast. Subconsciously, that happens when you can't get to the event. You feel like everybody level up and you just start slowly disseminating. You just start slowly pulling away. We don't want that for anyone, and we don't want to shame. And there are more important things in life than even your business. There are, and there are legitimate priorities that only you know. But there are also obstacles that you need to crush. There are blocks in your way that you need to push through. And I said this on the call yesterday. The resistance is what you'll receive before a breakthrough. Resistance is your power. Push through. Resistance is your power. Push through. Okay? You cannot get people to go with you if you don't go yourself. And maybe it's you can't get anyone to go with you this time. But if you don't have people yet with you, it's because you need to go. You need to go. The last thing I'm just going to say, I'm going to give you one little tidbit of training here. It is a technique. Write it down. I loved what Jen said. It's a little bit like that, but it's something you can repeat over and over again. And that is invite the method of inviting to recruit versus recruiting to invite. Know this line and think about it every time you do an event, whether it's a K-pop party or going into an event. Am I recruiting that person in? Or should I be inviting that person in to recruit? If you have a party and you invite someone, don't stop there. Invite them to invite people. If you have invited someone brand new into this business, I think I have a brand new planner on here today. We're talking about who she can invite into the first event with her. People don't really, I mean, it's more people want to go with you as you're getting started and they want to go with you to the top versus you go to the top and look down and say, hey, come on up. If you are brand new, get people to come with you on the journey and go together. Women love that. So we are not recruiting people. We're not inviting people to recruit them. We are recruiting people to invite others. So every time someone says yes to coming, you turn right around and see who they're going to invite. Because everybody gets a seat at the table here. We don't want anybody left out of this. Okay. So assess your pillars. What is it you need? You need more belief in network marketing. In 2030, the current value is forecasted at 328 billion. All right. Come get some belief in the industry that we have here. You need belief in the product? You probably don't. We love the product. The product's the best. You need belief in the company? Come look how it's done. Come look how it's done. We love our company. We love it. But like Christy said, you need belief in yourself, and belief is a muscle. It's a muscle. Just like you go to the weight room, you got to build it. And if you're sitting alone, you're not on the calls, you're not by the fire, you're not showing up at the events, you have no muscle. If you've been in the industry 10 years, you've got to keep building. It's going to deteriorate. You have to keep feeding your belief. Okay. So I hope to see you all there. Thank you for going with me on that little pivot. And I'm really excited to introduce the next woman to you. I remember sitting next to her at my very first event. Didn't know her at all, but I got to sit next to her for a whole event, and that was my first time I ever met her. But I'm going to introduce to you Tracy Zimmer, and she has been in the industry since 2012. You guys, she is the typical, I believe, like millionaire story where it's actually it's a teacher. Teachers are awesome at this business because they teach well, right? They replicate, they teach. And she started this as part-time, and now she's been out of what she'd call her job for over a decade. But guys, she is a mom of two young adults, 21 and 17. And she leads, she's our math teacher. Like, she's our comp plan guru.